Okay, let's just think about your smartphone for a second. You know, on the inside, it's this absolute miracle of engineering. It's changed so much over the past decade. But what about the outside? It's a rectangle. The one you had before that was a rectangle. And yep, the one before that too. Today, we're going to look at a project that's asking a really simple question. What if that shape is just fundamentally wrong?
And this whole idea, it didn't start in some fancy high-tech lab. Nope. It started with a really simple, almost playful observation from its founder, Ronik. He was just spinning his phone on a table and he noticed this huge disconnect. The software on the screen was all fluid, it was rotating, it was alive. But the hardware itself, it was just this rigid, boxy brick that couldn't keep up.
And that really brings us to the core question of this whole thing. Seriously, why are we all carrying around these little black rectangles? It's one of those things we've just completely accepted, but once you start to ask the question, you kind of can't unsee it everywhere. So what's going on here? Well, it boils down to this total mismatch. Rectangles, it turns out, are perfect for the factory floor. They're easy to make, they're easy to stack on a pallet, they're easy to ship. But our hands are not built with right angles. We have a curved grip, we use these fluid motions, and we're constantly rotating these devices. The hardware is literally designed for the assembly line, not for the human being who's supposed to be using it. And that's where this idea comes in, RoundPi. It's an ovular, kind of pebble-shaped smartphone, and its whole reason for being is to fix that mismatch. The entire concept is to build hardware that actually aligns with how we move and how we interact with the world, especially now that we're moving into this era of more immersive spatial media. But look, a cool shape isn't nearly enough. It has to actually be practical, it has to be affordable to build, and this is where the real genius of the project comes in. This is the big breakthrough that makes this whole pebble shape not just a neat concept, but a real practical possibility. And they call it the Smart Fill architecture. It's actually a super clever three-step process. So first you start with that ideal hand-friendly shape. Then, and this is the brilliant part, you stick the most expensive, standardized parts, the battery and the motherboard, right, in the center. They're still rectangles. And then finally, you repurpose all those leftover curved spaces for other really important things. You see, this just completely reframes the whole design problem. All of a sudden, those curves aren't wasted space you have to figure out what to do with. They become this huge opportunity, an opportunity for things like advanced cooling systems, or extra storage for all your media, or even dedicated AI chips. So what this means is that this new shape doesn't just feel better in your hand, it actually unlocks entirely new functions, things that are really difficult, maybe even impossible, to do with a standard rectangle. Just take the screen, for example. It's what they call a hybrid display. The middle part is a perfect, high-resolution rectangle. That's where all your apps, your videos, your games run exactly as they're supposed to. But the curved top and bottom bits, the wings, they're a separate space, owned by the system. They handle stuff like the clock, your battery life, and notifications, which keeps your main screen totally clean. And the innovation just keeps going. That symmetrical shape is perfect for putting dual fisheye lenses, which lets you create these one-tap 360-degree memory bubbles. And in this really clever bit of eco-design, they even plan to reuse the curved glass that's cut off from the screen to protect those camera lenses. Then you add in features like hot swappable storage and a whole ecosystem of matching accessories, and you can see how this one design idea really touches everything. Okay, so the idea is really cool. We get it. But can it actually survive in the real world? This next part is all about answering those practical, tough questions you'd have before ever considering a device that's this different. And let's just start with the absolute number one question, the one that's a total deal breaker. What about my apps? Right? If my Instagram, my games, my banking app, if they all look stretched out and broken, then none of these other cool features even matter. And the answer to this is just so clever and so reassuring. There is zero burden on developers. Like we saw with the hybrid display, your apps live exclusively in that central, perfect rectangle. The curvy parts are handled by the operating system. And what that means is that every single app in the store works perfectly on day one. No updates, no redesigns, nothing. All right, so what about the next set of hurdles? How do you even protect a phone that's shaped like a pebble? What about chargers? And what happens when you need to get it fixed? Are repair shops going to have any clue what to do with this thing? So the strategy here is all about control and simplicity. To start, they'd only offer their own first-party accessories to make sure the fit and the quality are perfect.
And for repairs, well, remember that smart fill idea? The guts of the phone are still standard, rectangular parts. Any technician would recognize them, which makes getting it serviced surprisingly straightforward. So, when you really zoom out and look at the whole project, you start to realize it's about so much more than just a single product. It's really proposing a whole new philosophy for how we think about the technology we hold in our hands every single day. This quote from the Founders Journal, it just perfectly captures the ambition here. The goal isn't to kill the rectangle or say it's bad. The goal is to challenge the assumption that it's the only way. It's about making the rectangle just one choice among many, not the default that we never even think to question.
And of course, to make that challenge real, it has to be accessible. So the target price for its India first launch puts it in that aspirational premium category, but not in some exclusive luxury one. This is a phone that's designed for people who create and build things, not just for collectors.
And in the end, the entire project, all the smart technology, all the philosophy, it all just boils down to this one simple, emotional idea. It's not about a spec sheet you have to study. It's about picking it up and having it just feel right. So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. For years and years, the big race in tech has been about making phones faster with better cameras, more powerful chips. But what if the next truly meaningful leap forward isn't about raw power at all? What if it's about how these devices feel? What if it's simply about comfort?